Hello, and welcome to Under 1000. My name's Thomas Flower, and each episode I'll read you a new piece of flash fiction. All of the stories are 1000 words or less. Today, I'll be reading Undelivered. I found a letter today, a scrappy, faded thing, lying in the dirt by the entrance to my block of flats. Normally I would walk straight by, busy rushing on my way to more pressing concerns, but today I had time, and nowhere to be in particular, so I picked it up instead. It was a strange thing. It looked faded and old, but it must not have been there long, or else it would have been illegible from being caught out in the rain. It was still easy enough to read, once I unfolded it and took a proper look. Written in dark black ink against the browning paper was an intriguingly vague message. David, I don't know how to say this to you in person, so I'm writing you this instead. Forgive me being such a coward. If it's any consolation, I don't expect you to ever see me again. What we are doing is wrong, David, and I cannot take part in it any longer. Fascinated and intrigued, and out of a bored curiosity and nosiness more than anything else, I'm sure, I took a seat on the wall nearby and read on, hoping to find some juicy details buried in later paragraphs. Perhaps my sudden change of heart will come as a surprise to you. In fact, I'm sure it will. Why would I be happy enough with things for all these years, and then one day decide against it? But I'll tell you again that this is wrong, David. And I think that even if you don't want to admit it to yourself, you know it too. We've both managed to tell ourselves outrageous lies, to make what we're doing seem justified in our own minds. But I can't do it anymore. And for your own sake, you shouldn't either. It's time to stop. For both of us. Sprinkled across the bottom of this paragraph, and continuing below it, the letter had the faded imprint of a damp smudge, as though someone had been crying and wiping away tears as they wrote. If you're reading this, it's because I've delivered this letter to you myself, David. Putting it through your letterbox will be the last time I ever come to your place, and I don't want to see you again afterwards. I've already blocked and deleted your contact details on everything I could think of. Please do not try to contact or meet me again. If you do, will not hesitate to contact the police and to present them with evidence which will incriminate both of us. Please don't think too badly of me, David. I know you will, with what I've written and all, but I simply couldn't take the shame anymore, and I need to start with a fresh slate. When I would look at you, I would remember exactly what we'd done, and I would feel terrible about it all. I can't live my life like that anymore. The writing had become shakier now, like whoever was holding the pen was increasingly unsteady. Goodbye, David. Please, just forget about me and about everything we did. Let's continue our lives like none of this ever happened. Yours, no longer. X. Having finished reading the letter, I stood up again, feeling confused and a little nervous. I decided to check the spot where I found it. Returning to the place by the tenement door, I noticed tucked into a patch of grass growing through the pavement a ripped envelope and a half-smoked cigarette. I picked up the envelope, my curiosity still in overdrive. On it, there were only the words, Flat 3/4. Unsure what I was doing now, I took both upstairs and returned to my flat. And so now, here I find myself, caught in a confusing bind. The letter and envelope now sit on my kitchen table, a haunting reminder of the problem which now faces me. It would be easy enough to slide the one into the other, and to post it through the letterbox of flat 3/4 myself. But would that be the right thing to do? Who knows? Being unaware of the situation, and what caused the person who wrote the letter to seemingly change their mind, it feels wrong to meddle. And yet, equally, thinking about what I have read, it feels wrong to do nothing. If atrocities were, or are, being committed in some way, it can't be right to sit back in inaction. Perhaps what I need to do then is go to the police, but what would I tell them? I think one of my upstairs neighbours might be doing something wrong, but also maybe this letter was meant for someone else. That hardly seems productive, and would only provoke either an under or over reaction. Suddenly, in my head, I hatch a plan. 3/4 is right above me, and although I have never met him properly, I do know the man who lives there to some extent. I decide that I should scope him out myself a little, and try to understand the situation before I determine what should be done. And so, that evening, with some excuse about local civics dreamed up in my mind, I stand in front of the door. My mouth feels dry, and my stomach is curling over and over inside me, but I try to steady myself. I don't know what this man has done after all, and even if he has done something, perhaps the letter makes it sound more dramatic than it is. Telling myself not to worry, I reach out a hand and firmly knock the door. And then I wait and wonder what will come next, and what kind of mess I've got myself into. Thank you for listening to Under 1000. I'm your host, Thomas Flower. To follow the show online, look for Under 1000 Pod on Twitter or Facebook, or check out the website at under1000pod.com. If you'd like to support the show on Patreon, go to patreon.com/under1000pod, where you can sign up to read each month's stories in advance, as well as to have a thank you be read during these credits. The theme music is an instrumental version of In Between Days by Nick Tate and the Sharks. To hear the full song, and more from the same EP, go to Nick Tate, NICTATE, and thesharks.bandcamp.com, or search for them on your favourite streaming platform. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and that you'll join me again next time for some more super short fiction.